Let the vengeance begin!
Howdy, howdy. Sudevil here, and welcome to a friendly match between me and Disco Popping. I wanted to try a new build of mine, and we played a few quick games, and this is a game of the Dowie against Chaos. Now, the build is based on some of the testing we did with the backline units. I have a very special unit that is very seldom used in this build. So my front line is basically iron breakers, 3 iron breakers just to set the front line, and I do have 2 miners out front. These miners, all they're there for is just to allow the iron breakers to get off all their blasting charges. Then they'll go to the back. I have 3 more miners in the back to help defend my back line, and for my leadership I do have a Rune Lord and a Runesmith. I'll get back to them later, and they're defended by Longbeards. For my special unit I have Quarrelers with great weapons. Now, I have 6 of them because they're fairly cheap, and the whole idea is that the miners combined with the Quarrelers with great weapons themselves will defend themselves against armor-piercing cav. And what I've done, because I have very few Longbeards, so I don't have a whole lot of immunity to psychology and leadership and stuff like that, I've taken, with my Rune Lord, of course the Master Rune of Wrath and Rune, but I've also taken Rune of Hearth and Home for immunity to psychology, so fear and terror will not bother me. I've also got the Locus of Power for the 15% magic resistance for any final transmutation shenanigans, and of course I have some physical resistance with him. Now with the Runesmith, I have got the Hammer of Carrick Draws, of course, for the minus 44 melee attack and minus 25% weapon damage for 50 seconds. And of course the Rune of Wrath and Rune, but I also brought Forge Fire, plus 10% armor piercing damage within 40 meters. I have a lot of armor piercing units, and I also got the Master Rune of Groth One Eye for plus 8 leadership. So you can see units that are in this aura, like this Quarreler with great weapons, has 88 leadership. and a bonus to their weapon strength, which is fantastic. So for Disco's army, he's got, you know, like an army that you're going to see often with Chaos Marauders out front to take some arrows and stuff like this, and 4 units of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. We know they are the pound for pound the best armor-piercing infantry in the game, anti-infantry armor-piercing infantry in the game. And for this side, he has his Fear and Terror Bomb. Now, he didn't know I was taking this army, so he had no idea, but he's got Sethoro the Everwatcher, who you will see often in this matchup, and he does cause fear and terror, but he does magic damage, and he also has that Arcane Conduit and Final Transmutation, and of course Metal Shifting for the armor piercing damage and weapon damage. He has an interesting unit here in the Demon Spew. They do poison things, and they also have this debuff of minus 5 melee attack within 5 meters, or within 30 meters, which is interesting. He's got these guys, the Swords of Chaos, who do fire damage, and they are armor piercing anti-infantry, have a big bonus, and they've got Guardian, plus 18% physical resistance, so they can guard Sethoro. And he's got these Weird Spawn. Interestingly, their ability, this is kind of a really interesting build, their ability is Sundering Armor, minus 30, and they have physical resistance, and he brought just a Dragon Ogre Shagoth, because it has a massive amount of armor piercing damage, 460, causes terror, scaly skin, has good stats. So without further ado, we'll get this on the go. So basically I just want to get some shots into there, and I'm going to get my Rune to Wrath and Rune on this Demon Spew, because I saw that debuff and I want to stop them. So I'm going to get my Rune Lord and my Runesmith over here. I'm going to shift them over to this side. I just want to let this happen, so I'm going to let them take their Iron Breakers take their shots with their satchel charges, and they're going to do a ton of damage. They're just going to go into the miners, that's just fine. And I've got here the Demon Spew, have the Rune of Wrath and Rune and the Master Rune of Wrath and Rune. Reduce their speed and taking a lot of damage, and their main units are going to come up and get into my Iron Breakers. Now, what I want to do is, I've brought all my heavy units into this. Now, I do have the big spell, Final Transmutation, on everyone, but I basically clumped up everyone in here. So I'm sending in my miners, I'm shifting these miners over from this side, and I've got another group of miners in there as well. So I just want to basically, you know, pick some targets. So I have a ton of fire coming in because I have 5 Quarrelers. So Sethoro's going to come and fight these guys. Well, c'est la vie, go and fight them. but I have a lot of actual damage coming in. I've gotten rid of these guys, the Chaos Marauders. Now I'm going to bring back these miners and these miners, so I don't need them in the front line anymore. They need to come and start mucking things up. That's the whole purpose. I just wanted to slow things down, and now bring them back. And you can see these miners are up to 40. They're up to 40. They're immune to psychology. And Sithora will kind of do his thing. I'm going to bring these miners around. I have gotten these guys routed, you know, but I have a lot of units. So Disco is going to force path one group of Chaos Warriors to these Quarrelers with great weapons, but they do have great weapons, so they will cause a little bit of damage. I'm really trying to focus on units here. I want to focus one unit down at a time. So I'm leaving Sithora, and I'm trying to focus down the Demon Spew and these Weird Spawn because I know they're big, and then I'm going to go after the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. But I just got a bunch of fire coming in, and I don't know if I have the Hammer of Carrick Draws is probably on someone. I don't see it right now, but I'm sure I would have put it on. Basically, this front line, these Ironbreakers will hold no problem. They're going to hold that all day, and you know, I guess I got to sort of accept that one battle. But these guys are going to start rallying, and I can just let them shoot, and I can kind of send them back into the general direction. And we just still got this big clump up here, so I'm getting all my buffs. Like, these guys have +8 leadership. Like, these miners are stuck, and they have immune to psychology. They're stuck in fighting units that cause fear and terror, and they're rocking, you know, 33% health, and they're not wavering. So you see, I'm just bringing these guys out, and I want to keep the fire into the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth now. I've gotten the Weird Spawn sort of out of there, and I want to chase off the Demon Spew a little bit. And I've got my Longbeard, so I am doing encouraging. So I am going to try and take these guys out and these guys out and just shoot these guys in the back and just let my Ironbreakers sort of do their job. So I'm going to do a little bit of kiting as I can, but you can see really this whole battle, my Rune Lord hasn't been touched because he has 55% magic resistance. Sithora can do nothing to him. But now we're focusing down that Dragon Ogre. We focus down one at a time. The Swords of Chaos, which are very good. The Demon Spew are going to come back. But we've just picked one target at a time, and I tried to get all my units on them. Now my units are starting to get a bit shattered, but once they get into there, they do have that extra 10%. My Quarrelers with great weapons do have an extra 10% on their great weapons. They're armor piercing, and they are immune to psychology, and they have 10 more leadership, so they can sort of handle that fight reasonably well. And you know, this front line, this is going to hold absolutely forever. I'm going to bring my Ironbreakers back up, but you can see some things are trying to rout. So maybe I'll bring these Ironbreakers into this main fight. But this has been a bit messy. Not much you can do, but it is messy when you have that many units. So I'm going to take these Quarrelers. I just want to shoot at these Swords of Chaos on their way back. I want to keep shooting at these guys and just sort of get everyone routing. You can see things are starting to break now. I do get another final transmutation, but this has been working wonderfully. Oh, I was going to send my Runesmith after this guy. I'm sure I'm going to see that and send him back in for the leadership and everything else like that. But with that immune to psychology, it really does make a difference to the leadership, and you can bring weaker units. Now, is this going to be a good build against Chaos? Oh man, I don't know. I have no idea. But I mean, you know, my Ironbreakers are doing fine. My Quarrelers have done a reasonable amount of damage. They've used a lot of their ammo, and that ammo not only does damage, but it debuffs things. You gotta remember that. And they can get in there, and they don't have the best stats, but they can damage things. You know, we saw them in that fight against the Gorebeast Chariot, where one miner and one Quarreler with great weapons can melee down a Gorebeast Chariot. But you can see we got everything broken, everything's going away now, and I did have a Rune of Wrath, Master Rune of Wrath and Rune on these guys. I did use all my runes, I think, in this fight. Got everyone together, and now you just look, I mean, 98 leadership on these Quarrelers. They're very tired. Rocking 98 leadership, immune to psychology. So, is this always going to be the case? Is this a good build? I don't even know. I just thought it was fun and interesting to try based on our testing. And, you know, there's lots of units running around. It's not so easy to run units when there's just like a whole bunch of stuff that I don't mind if it fights. Like, I don't mind if my Quarrelers with great weapons get into a fight. It doesn't bother me at all in this build, because that's actually what they're meant to do. That's why I have 6. So you end the replay and sort of look at the end plates on that, and you know, Rune Lord 40 kills, Runesmith 33 kills. They had plenty of health left. The Ironbreakers were awesome, 89, 123, and 109. They're actually pretty good in this matchup, relatively speaking. The Miners, 22, 12, 3, 3, and 12. Not bad for their cost, but what they were, we know what they're meant for. They're meant to muck things up and to help other things. 33 kills with the Longbeards. The Longbeards did a lot of heavy lifting and fought a lot of the heavier units, and our quarters 1, 3, 10, 17, 27, 23. And you know, with 6 of them, I just put a ton of fire on a ton of things. Now there was a lot of armor in here, so you know, just really the weird spawn took a lot of heat fast, and maybe the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, and Sethoril is immune to that sort of thing. And Sethoril got 159 kills. I mean, tons. And even the Chaos Marauders got 53 kills. 74, 28, 28, and 38 with the Chaos Warriors with great weapons. 71 with that Demon Spew, even though we had him hit it with a Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin and a regular Rune of Wrath and Ruin. And these Swords of Chaos, Chaos Knights, 133, very good unit. And the Weird Spawn 56 and 102 with the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. So they got high numbers in kills, but they weren't able to get a lot done to my really key units, with the exception of this one unit of Longbeards with great weapons. Like, the Ironbreakers did fine, and had a lot of health left. Like, even if we got down to just this, and all I had was the Rune Lord, the Rune Smith, and these 3 Ironbreakers, gonna be able to win that. You know, even if all the Miners and Quarterlers at this point routed. But interesting build. Thought I'd put it to use. Really fun. This isn't supposed to be a demonstration of sparkling gameplay. It's just a fun little match that we had to find and look at an interesting build, a low-level build, something that makes use of runes that aren't normally made use of, like the Rune of Groth 1, I think, the Leadership Rune, the Forge Fire for the 10% armor piercing, and the Immunity to Psychology. Now that Immunity to Psychology rune, remember, is getting a big expansion in its radius in the next patch. It's going to go up from 40 meters to 55 meters. So builds like this are going to be even more viable against builds like this, because you'll have even more units that you can catch in that radius of Immunity to Psychology. So against, say for example, units that do use a lot of fear and terror, the Dowie are going to be even better, even though that we're awesome right now because we have Longbeards in there, one of the best units in the game. Anyways, hope you found that interesting. Would love to hear comments down below, and don't really have anything else to go over, so I will see you soon.